Back on the road to the Canada Games. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm your host, Kevin Hirschfield. This is episode 2 of our Canada Games preview shows. You may have seen the first one airing through the first week of July on Shaw. Well, the second one will go through the second half of July, and it will go right up until the Canada Summer Games here in Winnipeg beginning July 28th. So let's get right into episode 2. Another special guest joining me. He is a Canada Games alumni, professional volleyball player, Chris Voth from right here in Winnipeg. And Chris, let's go back to 2009 when you remember of Team Manitoba, the volleyball team at the Canada Summer Games. What are some of your favorite memories from that time?
Well, the Games is a huge event, so just being with the team, and they have a lot of activities going, like a games room and kind of places where we can just be social with other sports also is a big highlight for me.
Right. How did you guys end up doing in 2009?
We got 4th, so we fell a little bit short of a medal, but we played against a couple strong teams, so it was fun.
Awesome. Well, like yourself, there's going to be tons of athletes representing Manitoba at this year's Summer Games, and here is a closer look at another Manitoba athlete. It didn't take long for local shot put and discus athlete Taylor Heald to throw her name into the conversation of Canada's elite.
My first year I made the national team. I went to BC for the Legion Nationals, the youth, and I won a gold there. So I won a national record, national title, and it clicked that I could actually do something, and that was an awesome moment.
Since she began in grade 8, Heald has been dominant, setting records, winning medals, and now the Winnipeggers expected to be one of the favorites in both events at the Canada Games.
Well, number one, she's one of the most powerful women I've ever met. She's just not a big woman. She's powerful. She's got tremendous strength, and she's got real good speed. And speed and power, that's really the strength. That's the whole key to it.
Heald is going into the games with some momentum. The recent grad of Grant Park High School is a month removed from breaking the Manitoba High School discus record and tying the shot put mark. But she says that record tying throw was not even her best effort.
My best is by far a lot further than that, so by tying it was awesome because it was still an achievement, but at the same time it was hard to not be able to break it that day. Just some days you're off, some days you're doing better than others.
She hopes to be on at the Canada Games, where the 17-year-old will be competing against athletes up to 21 years of age.
My first year junior, so it's starting to step up in the competition, so it's giving me a realization of how much harder I need to work, but also how cool it'll be as soon as I get to that level. I know who it's going to be. It's just a matter of pulling it off and training my butt off in order to get to the gold medal.
I think Taylor will be a finalist, certainly in both shot and discus. I think she's a contender for a medal. There's some kids that are now in the States at university that have just come through a university season. And of course that kind of experience is quite different than grade 12 in Winnipeg. However, they're going to be at the end of their season, and Taylor will be hopefully peaking for this, so we'll see.
I'm finishing grade 12 this year, and it's crazy the amount of staff at our school has walked up to me. I'm so excited to watch you compete. I'm coming. I've never had, every competition I've been to, I've never had my family there. So it'll be surreal kind of to have them come watch me throw, come compete. It's a lot of pressure, but it's a good kind of pressure.
Big things appear to be in Heald's future, although her focus remains in the short term.
I've got a bunch of scholarship offers. I got about 68 of them. Scholarship offers to the States and across Canada and other places in the world. But I think I'm going to stay here for the first semester at least. I'm not ready to leave home yet. I just kind of want to stay, get the feel, be ready for Canada Games, not focus on anything else.
The Canada Games are held every 2 years, alternating between a summer and a winter event. To celebrate Canada's 100th anniversary, the first games were held in Quebec City in 1967 during the winter. The first summer games came 2 years later, 1969, in Halifax, Nova Scotia. The event has been a launching point for some of Canada's all-time elite athletes. three-time Stanley Cup champion Sidney Crosby, tennis star Eugenie Bouchard, former world heavyweight boxing champion Lennox Lewis, Olympic gold medalist speed skater Katrina LeMay Doan, and two-time NBA MVP Steve Nash. In Manitoba, the likes of rower and Olympic medalist Janine Hansen-Stevens, former Major League Baseball player Corey Koski, and former NBAer Todd McCullough all have participated in Canada Games. Those are the big names, but the Games have provided hundreds of local athletes in a wide variety of sports with great memories and experiences.
It was a huge stepping stone. I've been involved in lacrosse. I still am at 69 now, and I was able to make it into the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame a few years ago, as well as the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame, and all in the sport of lacrosse. And it's brought me friends and an enjoyment of life. And lacrosse is something I'll never stop loving, and try to stay involved as long as I can. And Canada Games is one of those things that brings these opportunities up.
It also brings everybody together, because a lot of these players are competing against one another, right? When you become a team, it's very different as a team. So I think a lot of people go on, that spurs them on.
2017 in Winnipeg will be the 50th anniversary of the Canada Games, and it will aim to continue the tradition of highlighting Canada's next great athletes and creating golden memories. Now let's take a look at some athletes from outside Manitoba who are heading to the Canada Summer Games. Over to wrestling, and Sarah Brinkhack from Burnaby, British Columbia is coming off a national title in her age category. At this year's Canadian Cadet and Juvenile Championships, Brinkhack was victorious in the 60 kilogram division and was also named the winner of the Outstanding Women's Juvenile Award. She recently committed to Simon Fraser University for next season. To the diamond, pitcher Jaden Griffin from Nova Scotia will get to showcase his arm on the national stage. The left-hander from Sackville is a member of Team Canada's national junior team already. Born in July of 2000, Griffin is the youngest on the roster, and he also attends the Vauxhall Baseball Academy in Alberta. Peter Tack May from the CAMO Diving Club in Montreal will be one to watch at the diving event. May is a member of the Canadian Senior National Team. At last year's Senior Summer Nationals, he picked up 2 silver medals in the 1 meter and 3 meter events, and at the Winter Nationals, he won 2 golds in the 1 and 3 meter events. May also competed at the 2016 World Junior Championships and has started competing internationally on the FINA Diving Grand Prix circuit. In athletics, it is a lesser-known event, but the hammer throw is one that Cameron Rogers from Richmond, British Columbia dominates in. She's owned the event at the BC Track and Field High School Championships the last couple of years, winning this year's event by nearly 13 meters. Rogers recently set the Canadian U20 hammer throw record of 61.01 meters. She's also committed to the University of California, Berkeley next season. Molly McBain and Leah Monkhouse from Ontario are a duo to look out for in beach volleyball. The two won gold at the Canadian U18 Championships in 2016. McBain is on an NCAA scholarship with Florida State University, while Monkhouse will be attending the University of Hawaii in the fall. The two will be competing in the U.S. Volleyball Collegiate High Performance Championships before they head to Winnipeg for the Canada Games. Taking a look now at where the sports at this year's Canada Summer Games will be played. Indoor volleyball will be contested at the brand new Canada Games Sport for Life Centre, built as a Games Legacy project, as well as the Investors Group Athletic Centre at the University of Manitoba. Athletes will be 18 and under, and men's and women's volleyball will feature 2 pools of 6 teams, with the top 3 teams in each pool qualifying for the playoffs. The new Sport for Life Centre will also play host to basketball along with the Duckworth Centre at the University of Winnipeg. Now, most provinces have 17 and under teams, while the territories, Nunavut, and PEI are allowed 2 18-year-olds. On the men's side, there will be 3 pools of 4 teams, while the women's side features 2 pools of 4 and 1 pool of 3. All teams will qualify for the playoffs. University of Manitoba Stadium will be host to the track and field or athletics events. The athletes are 22 and under. Each province can field up to 61 athletes, men's and women's combined. Here's a long list of all the events that will be contested. There will also be para and Special Olympic categories, including 3 wheelchair races, 2 Special Olympic runs, and a para shot put and discus. Those athletes are 30 and under. We continue on the road to the Canada Games. Our special guest today is Chris Voth, volleyball player and Canada Games alumni. Chris, you've represented Manitoba at the national level many times, including at the Canada Games. What does it mean to you always to put on the Manitoba colors and represent your province on the national stage?
It's always such a privilege. I grew up always wanted to play for Team Manitoba, and so when I got the opportunity, it was just awesome.
Now, you had represented Manitoba before the Canada Games back in '09. What were some of those events that you represented the province at?
The events are called the NTCCs, and I also competed at the Western Canada Games.
Okay, and you were telling me before this that you had an interesting stretch there back in '09 where you were very busy. Before you came to the Canada Games, you had a really big event as well. Tell us about that kind of busy stretch for you during that time.
Yeah, I was actually fortunate enough to make the junior national team, and so I came right from India, went to Winnipeg for 3 days, and then flew out to Prince Edward Island for Canada Games.
How was the energy level during that? Could you handle all that at such, I guess, a young age?
It was pretty tough. It was my first time overseas too, so I hadn't dealt with the time change before, but we had a good team and I was just able to kind of power through it.
Right on, right on. Well, one interesting thing you may not know about the Canada Games is that in addition to all the events out there, there are some Special Olympics events going on and some para events as well, including some events going on at Pan Am Pool, and that is going to take us in to our next local athlete profile. It was around 2 years ago when swimmer Matt Miller noticed something wasn't right.
The first really unknown sign was my walk changed dramatically. I wasn't walking heel-toe, I was walking toe-heel all the time, and we had no idea why. My parents called me Stompy because they thought I was just lazy and wasn't walking properly. When I had my first seizure, I went to the neurologist, and she's the one that actually noticed that I had all these different issues with my hands and my feet, my balance and my walking.
Turns out the member of the St. James Seals Swim Club had something called Charcot-Marie tooth disease, a neurological disorder which causes peripheral nerve damage. A tough blow for the then 14-year-old, but finally finding out what was wrong was also a relief, and Miller soon realized his swim career would not be over. He was able to qualify as a para-swimmer.
And so when we got the diagnosis, it said, okay, that makes sense. Where does that fit into the para-swimming world? And we've had such great para-swimmers in Manitoba with Kirby Cote that I just thought this could be a real good opening for Matt. So.
Since then, he's taken off, including winning a gold medal in the 200-meter backstroke event at this year's Can-Am Para Swimming Championship.
But he's a changed person because he's seeing success. Right? Before that, when we didn't know the diagnosis, he seemed to be slowing down while all the other boys were getting faster. And that was really frustrating for him. He would be frustrated on the deck. I didn't think he'd keep swimming. He's a fighter that he hasn't given up on it. This has just given him new goals in life. And even though there's struggles sometimes adjusting to his new life, he's looking forward to seeing where this could take him. And that's made me super proud.
Miller still faces daily challenges due to the disease, something he's learned to deal with.
Doing up buttons, pretty much anything fine motor skill-wise I have trouble with, like writing. Sometimes, depending on how tired I am, knife and fork can be difficult. I've lost the ability to fully close my left hand, so that is kind of a pain. But other than that, everything's still relatively there. My kick is a little off because I can't hold my feet in place. But other than that, everything is fairly normal.
He is one of 4 that will compete on the Manitoba Para Swim team at the Canada Games. He'll participate in several events, including the 50 and 100 meter freestyle and 100 meter backstroke. And he has optimism about that event and the future.
I definitely feel like I can medal, but I definitely feel like it's going to be some steep competition. It's my long-time goal, and I'm sure many swimmers have this too, but Olympics, and I'm hoping for 2020 Tokyo, or at least trials, and I just want to have that experience under my belt before I am done, and I feel like that's a reasonable goal.
Now let's take a look at some athletes from outside Manitoba who are heading to the Canada Summer Games. Tristan Mandur will look to go low at the Southwood Golf Club in Winnipeg. The Mill Bay, British Columbia product was the winner of the 2016 BC Junior Golf Championship and has twice finished in 3rd place at the Canadian Junior Championships. Mandur plays college for the University of Utah Utes. Expect Louis Bertrand of Quebec to be a favorite in the open water swimming event. Bertrand is coming off a national title in the open water 14-year-old category at the 2016 Canadian Age Class Championships. Devin O'Hay from North Vancouver, British Columbia will be a part of that province's soccer team. O'Hay was a member of the U17 Canadian national team and served in the Vancouver Whitecaps residency development program for 3 years. Trevor Jones from Burleigh Falls, Ontario is part of that province's rowing team. At this year's Canadian Indoor Rowing Championships, Jones, who goes to school at Trent University, won gold in the U23 men's event, and at the 2016 World Rowing U23 Championships in the Netherlands, he placed 5th in the men's double sculls event. Before he represents his province at the Canada Games in Winnipeg, Jones will represent Canada at the 2017 World Rowing Under-23 Championships, this year being held in Bulgaria. Taking a look now at where the sports at this year's Canada Summer Games will be played. The Pan Am Pool will be a hotspot during the Canada Summer Games, hosting the diving and swimming events. The facility closed for a month last summer to undergo renovations for the Games and is in its 50th year of operation. During diving, athletes will be 19 and under and will compete in 3 events: a 1-meter springboard, 3-meter springboard, and 10-meter platform event. Women have 5 dives in their sessions, while men have 6. Swimming, of course, is one of the most popular sports at events like these. All sorts of medals to be won in able-bodied as well as para and Special Olympics categories. Each province is allowed up to 16 swimmers, and here is a big list of all the events taking place. Birds Hill Provincial Park will be busy during the Canada Games, hosting 3 events. First, the park hosts triathlon, where athletes will run, swim, and cycle a certain distance. There will be an individual sprint, mixed team, and a relay category. Birds Hill also hosts open water swimming. Athletes will compete in a 5-kilometer course. The event became part of the Canada Games in 2009 when it was a 10-kilometer race, but was then shortened to 5 kilometers in 2013. And then there's the cycling event. Athletes are between the ages of 17 and 22, and each team can feature up to 5 cyclists. Birds Hill will co-host that one with Red River Exhibition Park. In terms of the categories, there is an individual time trial, a road race, and a criterium. Taking a look now at where the sports at this year's Canada Summer Games will be played. Mountain bikers head to Fort White Alive and the Bison Butte Mountain Bike Course. It's the first mountain bike venue to meet national standards in central Canada. Riders can be up to 23 years old and will compete in 3 categories: cross-country, sprint, and relay. Each team can have 3 riders. The Winnipeg Lawn Tennis Club will host the tennis action. The site has 11 courts with lighting for evening play. The club has added 3 electronic scoreboards and upgraded LED lights for the event. Each team must have 2 players 16 and under and 2 players 18 and under. There will be singles, doubles, and a mixed category as well. One of the great things about Canada Games is that you have so many future Canadian sports superstars all gathered in one location for a couple weeks. Chris Voth, you haven't done too bad yourself. You've had an accomplished career after Canada Games. Kind of take us through where you've gone since you represented Manitoba at the Canada Games.
Yeah, well, the highlights have been going to the Universiade Games. I went to Shenzhen and Kazan, and then I've been playing professionally overseas in the Netherlands and in Finland.
Wow, you've been all over the place. What's kind of the plan for you as we head into the next volleyball season?
I'm just looking for a team right now, so whatever comes up, really.
There you go. How do you think the Canada Games helped you maybe moving forward in your career, and why would you say that?
It was, I think, playing at such a high level because you take all the top players in the country and you put them all in one competition, then that really gives you experience in those tough matches, and it's a lot of fun too, of course.
There you go. A big event for sure. Let's move away from the sports angle of it and to the entertainment angle. There's going to be a Canada Games Festival going on at the Forks. There's going to be concerts going on there every day. Tracy Koga has more on that.
We are so excited to be hosting the hottest sporting event in the country. But you know what? We will also have the best musical festival. I have with me now the producer Jason Smith, and wow, what an incredible lineup for the Canada Games Festival.
Oh, thanks very much. We're really excited about it. Yeah.
So when we talk about the country and the breadth and the depth of the talent, I guess, how was it the process to pick all of these groups?
You know, the process was really fun this time. I've done a lot of these events, and this one was unique because we had this idea where we would work with every province to promote one day. So we have an Alberta day, a BC day, of course a Manitoba day, and that made it really fun for us because we were able to look at the programming from a different perspective than we normally would be. So we went out, worked with every province, and I think are bringing back some of the best artists from each one to represent and give a little feel of what it's like across Canada. So.
Wow, and it's all going to take place right here at the Forks. Now, we are on Treaty 1 land, and I noticed too the diversity of the talent, so was that a factor too?
Of course, yeah. We wanted to represent Canada, and so we have Indigenous performers, we have Francophone performers, we have both male and female performers. We really wanted to pay homage to the fact that Canada is a multicultural and diverse country, and we have an amazing array of music that comes from all of the different communities across the country. So yeah, it was definitely in our considerations as we did it. And to be fair, we really just tried to pick the best artists that we could from each area, and so a lot of them happened to be Francophone, Indigenous, female, male. You know, it was just a representation of how great our artistic community is here in Canada.
Yes, and now I guess the festival layout, there will be the main stage, but there will be another stage, correct?
That's right. We have our main stage. We have over 55 artists performing on the main stage throughout the course of the 11 days. Then we have what we're calling a satellite stage, which is a little bit smaller. It's a little bit further out, sort of in the crowd and lower, so people can get a little more up close and personal. On that stage, we'll have dancing. We'll have singer-songwriters. We actually have a couple of circus performers who are going to come in. So we just have all kinds of variety on there. And then we have actually another area across the way in the Parks Canada land, the MacDon Family Zone, where we're going to be hosting Canada 150 signature projects like the Vancouver Aquarium's Aquavan and the Winnipeg Art Gallery's Art Expressed exhibit. And we have huge inflatables over there, and we have a whole bunch. We have an Indigenous Learning Circle over there, so we have a whole bunch more cultural programming across in the Parks land as well.
You know what, so folks, you know, you might have the sport fan in the family, but for those that maybe aren't too interested in sports, there's so much to do here. Yeah. Jason, I know that you headed up the Grey Cup festivities last year. I know this is much bigger, but I guess the best part of your job in being part of the Canada Summer Games.
Well, the best part of my job in all of these events is the ability for me to be creative and to work with all the different folks that get involved, the different levels of government who come in and support us. the staff that we work with. I worked last year actually with the Jets on the Heritage Classic and then the Grey Cup, and it's always we start from scratch. We get to envision these events brand new again, and so for me it's just an opportunity to sort of be creative and work with folks here to showcase all the great stuff that Winnipeg and Manitoba have to offer.
Wow, well, we look forward to it. I know that I'll be seeing you a lot during the festival.
I hope so. You'll be down here, I hope, having a good time.
Every day,
Yeah.
no doubt. For the Road to the Games, I'm Tracy Kilda.
Well, that will do it for our second and final episode of Road to the Games. And Chris Voth, you're home for the summer after playing pro in Europe. What events are you going to be looking forward to watching here?
Well, I'm volunteering at the beach volleyball and the indoor volleyball, and I'm really excited to see Team Manitoba step it up and win some medals.
Going to be an awesome time for sure. And stay tuned to Shaw during the Canada Games. We're going to have all sorts of coverage. We'll have highlights, profiles, interviews, and much, much more. Going to be a busy 2 weeks for us, that is for sure. So we look forward to that. But for now, we thank you for joining us on Road to the Games.